Hey, how's it going everyone? Justin again. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Currently I have some 30 thousandths Lincoln Super Arc solid wire with a 75-25 argon mix. What we're going to be doing today is comparing the results of that particular solid wire to the 30 thousandths MIG solid wire you can get from Harbor Freight made by Vulcan. And we're also going to be trying out the 30 thousandths Hobart solid wire and what you can get from Tractor Supply. I've been asked numerous times what I thought about the Lincoln Super Arc, and I don't know that I have a definitive answer because some of the welds that I have done with the Lincoln Super Arc have been a really weird brown look to them. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe that has something to do with a contaminant that I might have, or maybe it has to do with lack of amperage from my circuit. Either way, I'm going to be having my circuits redone here within the next week or two, so we'll be able to see what it looks like welding on a 220 outlet. But as of today, we're going to see what it looks like running off of a 120 outlet on my 15 amp circuit. So we're hoping to see what the differences is between the Lincoln Super Arc, the Vulcan, and the Hobart wire, and just see what happens. So let me get some things set up, let me get some safety equipment on, and then we're going to go over here to our welding bench, and we're going to start off with the Lincoln Super Arc, and then we'll jump to the Hobart, and then we'll jump to the Vulcan. Alright? Guys, so we're getting ready to do some butt welds. In case you don't know what that is, it's basically something that I was taught in high school. Again, this has been 20 years back. But my old welding teacher or instructor would have us take two pieces of metal that are similar in length, that are flat. These were our little test strips or disposable strips. And what he'd have us do is on a welding bench, kind of like what I've done here, is he'd have us start off by tack welding it down to the bench, and then we would run our bead all the way across down the joint. Once we were done, we'd break it free from the table, grind down the edge of it, show it to him, and then he would grade us accordingly. And that's how we would practice. He'd have us do a couple dozen of those per day. Now, I'm hoping to kind of do the same exact thing with my table. If you guys got other suggestions, please feel free to let me know. I've already talked to a handful of people between Everyday Fleet Tech, Redemption Garage, just a handful of people about welding tables in general, and I've even gone to several channels like Chuck E 2009, and there's a couple other, I think it was like the Welding Junkie. I've gone to a couple of channels and I've checked them out and seen kind of like what their setup is and kind of trying to formulate ideas and opinions off that. Had a lot of good feedback, so I want to thank you guys. I appreciate that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to butt weld this down to the workbench. We're going to be using the Lincoln Super Arc 30 thousandths solid wire with the 25-75 gas. We're going to be running on a MIG 170 made from titanium, or Harbor Freight's brand Titanium Mig 170. We're going to see how well that does. Then we're going to stop the camera. We're going to switch over to the Hobart 30 thousandths solid wire, running it off of 75-25. We'll see how clean that comes out. And then we'll jump from that over to the Vulcan solid wire and see if there's any difference there. Alright, so you guys wear whatever safety gear that you want. I recommend a good hood, good welding hood. I'm actually trying out this Metal Man welding hood I picked up from Tractor Supply. 36 bucks on sale, auto darkening. You know, so far I've actually kind of digged the whole Stone Cold Steve Austin blue skulls that it's got on there. I think that's pretty awesome. Alright, I'm going to get our other camera set up so you guys can see what I'm doing. How I got this grounded is here at the edge of my table. I've already welded on a ground clamp. I've got this set at about 200 amps. I've got it set at a speed of 19.2, and my inductance is around 6. I'm going to tack weld it down, and then we'll run our bead. I picked up this cheap little MIG stand from Harbor Freight earlier too. Okay, so this was our drag weld. We started from here, we worked our way back, and we finished here where we tack welded it to our workbench. I'm going to take this wire brush, kind of go across it, see if I can't get some of that silicone or whatever it is they put inside the wire cleaned up so you guys can see it a little better. Alright, so there it is. I might have been moving a little bit fast. Probably some of the pits is probably from that. But you can see I started to slow down here towards the end. I don't know, you guys let me know. We're going to let this cool down and then we're going to jump over to the Hobart. I know somebody's gonna say it, so we're just gonna go ahead and do it. We're gonna put a new tip on every single one. All right, let's go tack it down. Okay, this is Hobart MIG wire, 30 thousandths, take one, tack weld. Okay, it's on the bead. I don't know if the camera's gonna sit still long enough for me, but just wanted to show you how easy it was to grab onto that and pick it up. So now we're gonna set this off to the side to cool. All right, I dare say I kind of like the way that this one came out a little bit better as far as the weld goes. We're gonna have to compare, but here's the browning that took place. Overall, it seemed like it was a bit more consistent throughout, till I got down here towards the end where I might have held the gun just a second too long, which is why it created that little cavity is my belief. But here's our Hobart, 30 thousandths. I'll set that up over here. That'll be number 2. That was the Hobart. Now we're jumping over to the Vulcan. Just in case you guys are wondering about this, this is the tensioner. And it tells you right here on the instructions on the inside, set tension by turning feeder tensioner, that's this. For solid wire 3 to 5, for flux core 2 to 3. So I got it at the lowest setting for solid core, which is 3. I kind of like 3 where it runs, honestly. And it's a happy middle ground, so if you're not sure if you're running flux core or solid wire, well, you don't have to worry about messing with the tension on it anymore. Again, trying to make that barrel as clean as we possibly can to make it fair. Ooh yeah, see, those things are sharp. That'll nip you. Okay, barrel's clean, new tip. Slide that on, we'll give it the same amount of wire here. All right, a little bit less brown on the outside. Overall, I think the weld looks pretty good. Looks like I might even be getting better. Again, down here at the end, kind of held on a little too long. kind of burnt a little cavity in it. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. We'll do a side-by-side comparison here in a minute. All right, and as an extra little, I don't know, call it bonus footage, I did have somebody specifically request for me to go back through the process of setting up for Flux Core, and they wanted to see how the Flux Core turned out with the titanium. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and put a fresh spool of 35 thousandths Flux Core Vulcan wire into the Titanium MIG 170, and then I'll show you how to change it all around for that. Okay, process is basically the same. As far as removing the wire goes. All right, but before we go jumping it up in wire size, we have to take off this little guy. Now this has grooves. One set for 23 thousandths. The other one is set for 30 thousandths. There's a 0.6 on one side and 0.8 on the other. I'm guessing that has to do with the thickness of what it is that you're welding. I didn't exactly see that on any of the spools any of the rolls that they sell. Okay? But I want to let you know that if you wanted to go thicker, hopefully you didn't throw the little consumable bag away, because in that consumable bag you have another one, and this one is for 30 and 35 thousandths, 0.8 or 0.9, and the other one is specifically for 35 thousandths at 0.9, and you'll see these little toothed ribs in here. Somebody let me know what those are for. Well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and set this up for the 30-35 thousandths on this smooth portion here on the inside. Slide that on in, and we'll see if that actually makes any difference compared to the 30 thousandths we were running on this other one. All right, now we got to turn our gas off. So on the top here, looks like counterclockwise is going to be the open. So now we're going to want to close our gas. So we're going to turn it the opposite direction of the open. That turns it off. Well, now we still have gas left in the chamber, so now we got to close this valve. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to crack to purge the line here on the gas, because I'm not sure what it is about this one since I've switched it over to 75-25, and I've had it hooked up to gas. I haven't disconnected it, so I don't know how it's going to affect us if there's still gas in here, and I don't want to spin this all the way out to the point where it comes flying out. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to crack the line here. Look at the gauge. Well, we still got some pressure going on. Alright, so I'm not sure what the deal is here, but look, I cracked this puppy loose. It brought our gas gauge down to 0. The other one still has pressure in it. Not sure what the deal is there. So I'm just gonna take this all the way off. And I'm gonna open it back up and see if that does anything for us. There, finally. Okay, so all completely purged, no gas in the tube. Fine. Now I feel comfortable. We can go ahead and unspin this guy back. Now look, I was curious too. If I kept on spinning, what happens? Well, the whole arm wants to come out. So, you know, the problem is you back this thing off so much, the gauge still stays at pressure because there's still pressure in the line. There's no way for you to find out if that's at 0 unless you take it all the way off. Otherwise, you're just asking for the thing to come undone. So at any rate, so now what I'm just going to do to prevent contaminants, this is all closed up, I'm just going to lightly thread that back on there. And then I'm going to snug it down a little bit with this wrench. There. So we're all snugged down. 0, 0. We can now switch over the electrical. Okay, so when we were on gas, running solid wire, we had our ground clamp on the negative, and we had our feed on the positive. So now we're just going to basically switch these around. We're going to take this one off and we're going to swap the two. Just like that. And now we should be switched over to Flux Core. Let's check our settings chart before we get started. Okay, so here's our chart. Here's what we're looking for. Mild steel, Flux Core, shielded gas none, descend 35 thousandths, wire speed's going to be 200, voltage is going to be 17, inductance is going to be between 5 and 10. So let's verify that we have that set up correctly. Okay, so our inductance is still set at around 6. And then we'll need to verify our voltage is, we're at 19 now, and we need to be at 17. So we'll turn this down to 17. And then our wire speed is supposed to be at 200, which we're pretty close. Right there. There's 200. So we're at 200 for the wire speed, 17 for the voltage, and 6 for our inductance. Now we can go ahead and butt weld with Flux Core 35 thousandths. We have a new tip, new spool of Flux Core from Vulcan. We are not running gas. We showed you how to switch things around the correct way now. So let's go ahead and get after it. Okay, same old deal. We're going to cut off the same exact amount of wire that we originally started with the other ones. Everything's all hooked up nice, and I just bent the tip just a minute. Okay, I'm going to tack weld it down to the bench, and then we'll see how it goes. This is 35 thousandths Flux Core Vulcan. Take one, tack weld. All right, let's go. And we tripped the damn breaker. Are you kidding me? Well, we got some of the weld done at least. We got that broke off now from our little spot. Here's the result. So cleaned up pretty nice. Still a little bit hot. That was 35 thousandths. So let's do a little compare, shall we? Alright, so final thoughts and conclusion. Looking at the different types of solid wire out there between Lincoln, Hobart, and the Vulcan lineup. I did see a little bit of difference, to be honest. With the Lincoln, a little bit more of a green spark, a little bit more smoke, and it seemed like maybe a little bit more spatter, but it didn't really lay down a very thick bead to begin with. Jumping over to the Hobart 30 thousandths, again, same exact thickness, new tip, okay, we interchanged tips. It seemed like the bead was a little bit thicker, less of a greenish smoke, so maybe there's less silicone in it. I don't know what each wire is actually comprised of. I could tell you that the bead was a little bit thicker, in my opinion, almost a half size thicker than the Lincoln Super Arc. Overall, I thought the weld came out a little bit cleaner too. A little bit more on the outer brown side, but overall the weld itself was a little bit cleaner, and it didn't really take a lot to wire brush it off. Jumping over to the Vulcan now, solid core, again, new tip, new spool of wire. Seemed to lay down a pretty equal bead to the Hobart as far as thicknesses was concerned. Again, around the same, maybe a little bit less browning than the Lincoln, but overall I think that the bead was pretty close to about the same as the Hobart. Then we switched everything over to Flux Core because I had some questions about the Flux Core, how the beads lay down with that, and how to change it around on the machine, since the first time I attempted to do it, I didn't have the instruction booklet with me, and I kind of made a couple of really novice decisions at that time. So now having it for a little while longer and actually having the instruction booklet with me, we did change it over accordingly, and we were able to see what it's like running it at 120. Unfortunately, 3/4 of the way through that last weld using the Flux Core, we tripped the breaker. I am planning on getting that fixed here within the next couple of weeks, where we will come back. We will revisit the Titanium Plasma 45. I will then at that point in time give you guys a solid review of my overall thoughts, opinions, and what it can actually cut through. We will get a better idea of what it can do at 120. We'll get a better idea of what it can do at 240. So stick around for that video. That video should come out probably closer to Halloween, maybe even the beginning of November. So that'll pretty much wrap it up for this video, guys. You can make your own decision as far as what type of wire you decide that you want to go with. There might be other brands out there that are, well, we'll say maybe have a cleaner weld than these ones did, but these were the 3 different areas that I could possibly go to and pick up wire if I needed it in a pinch outside of going to the welding supply store. So if you guys run a specific wire or a specific type that you feel like utilizes the gas mixture better or that flows better with it, by all means put it on down in the comments. If you like running 35 thousandths over 30 thousandths wire, let me know why. The thickness difference between the 35 thousandths and the 30 thousandths didn't seem like it was too much thicker. Maybe, and I felt like I was going about the same speed for each one. You guys can let me know down there in the comment block as well. That's all I got for this video, guys. Thanks as always for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Share if you want to share, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers, and deuces.